we've had hundreds of thousands of practices opened, and we barely have 40,000 of them present, which means they're all dead.
Welcome to Genesis Nation. Yet again, we have amazing, awesome practitioners. You guys have stood the test of time. This is Dr. Jen and Dr. Dean DePice with TLC Coaching and TLC Chiropractic. And we'll dive into what that acronym actually stands for in a couple minutes. I'm really honored and privileged to even have this conversation with you guys because, one, I really respect the depth of spirituality that you bring into practice and what you're teaching chiropractors. And from that perspective, it was really awesome seeing that. Two, the level of clinical savvy that you guys apply in your practice. And then three, the fact that you've actually endured as a relationship and family for 30 plus years. Yeah, that's a testament in itself. So tell us a little bit about your history. And whoever goes first, you guys just go and I'll keep asking.
Well, it started back in chiropractic school. Dean was about 1 year into school. I was maybe 2 or 3 quarters into school. And we met, we went on a date, and right from the beginning, we were having the vision and drawing out the design of what it would be like practicing together, what it would be like developing longevity with patients, with our relationship, and seeing it in advance. So living it out now, 35 plus years later, it's really exciting to recognize where it came from, which is 2 students sitting in a coffee shop, writing on a napkin, and dreaming where we would be, and realizing the impact of deepening relationships. I love how you pointed that out from the beginning, because it really all goes back to our commitment to our faith lived out, and that we're called to be chiropractors, we're called to be where we are. And there's been lots of challenges along the way, and there's always opportunities to see that we are transforming ourselves, and by doing that, being mentors for other people in an amazing community.
Yeah. Listening to you share that, I always like to listen to, what's being pinged in my own thoughts as you speak. And it was remembering how much you and I inherently at Hello, not only as individuals, really dig into dreaming and observing, but it's not just dreaming like daydreaming, it's dreaming because we always, each of us in our own unique ways, is very compelled to improve the landscape of anything we're a part of. So we're sitting there having lunch, but we're imagining we're going into practice. We're going to do this and asking difficult questions. So look, it's possible that if we're dating, we might end up practicing together. So what's your take on this? So we know some people get married and they don't even discuss the fact that one of them's Jewish and one of them's a Catholic, and how are we going to resolve this? And then they're married like, oh, holy mackerel, how are we going to raise our kids? Like, no. We ask the most difficult questions long before anything can get difficult. And it's our nature. So we dream incredibly compelling dreams together, and we dig into the most difficult questions together, and we avoid nothing.
And it's part of our marriage vows to each other that we would constantly provoke each other with the most difficult questions.
We wrote our own wedding vows, and independently, we each wrote some component of a sentence that said, I vow to continually stretch you and challenge you to reach for the things difficult from inside you, or something like that. So
I'm going to turn this into a relationship conversation, but like, there's so many, even after that opening, there's so many threads that I'm going to pull on right now. I just want to applaud you both. You're architects of manifestation, meaning like I can envision seeing you. Were you guys at Life University?
Yes.
All right. So I was probably at the same coffee shop, like several years later, but you were in the coffee shop just manifesting and architecting this dream of your own life. And now I'm sure it's expanded even more because you have children, you have a practice for 35 years, you're coaching coaches and chiropractors. So deepening relationships. And obviously you work on deepening your relationship for yourselves. What can you give us? Like, we'll go quick fire with some of these, but deepening your relationship first to yourself, because as a practicing chiropractor, burnout is easy. And I've found that, like, if our relationship to ourselves is not well, then we can't relate to others. So what do you teach yourselves or work with each other and your coaches to help deepen your own relationship first?
Do I go first?
You go first.
Okay. So the first thing, we were just talking about this morning, it's interesting you bring it up, is starting our day right.
Mm.
And if we don't start our day right by filling ourselves up with the right things, we can't expect that we can continually give to others and do it sustainably. You know, something that's really important to us in our lives is doing what we do sustainably and doing it from a place of joy, not just, you know, we're exhausted at the end of the day and we don't have anything left. No, we're energized at the end of the day because we're fueled, because we're doing what we love. But it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of intention in order to get up early, to start our day in prayer, to do the rituals that really will lead us to then go into the service part of our day and really already feel like our day is complete before we ever walk into the practice or to serve other chiropractors.
Beautiful.
I love that.
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I was thinking this morning, I'm in the gym, and now I'm one of the older guys in the gym, but I'm in the gym every morning. And, you know, people who want to, you know, dismiss how their story is special and their story is different will say things like, well, it's easy for you to, it must be easy for you to go to the gym. It's hard for me. Or something. I'm like, no. I hate it. You know, I don't hate it, but any morning the alarm goes off, I don't need one alarm. I don't need two. I need like 8 of them because I don't want to get up at 4 in the morning. Yet if I do not, and I have not already journaled my heart on a page, I've not already read my words of faith, I've not already brewed my own coffee and smelled it before the droplets are settled in the cup, if I have not done these things, if I've not been sure to write of my dreams before I analyze the business or anything else, and then got into the gym and sweat while I'm listening to things that stretch my brain, while I'm engaging in equipment that stretches my physical capacity, and then come home and then spread gas cards with hundreds of other chiropractors where we all remind each other, we got up early this morning, we wrote off our gratitude. If I don't do those things, I am less, and it is not easy, and it is not comfortable for me. It is difficult, and I know in the difficulty, more of what is good is somehow access. So, and I know you're doing it. And I wrote that to the guys this morning in one of the WhatsApp groups. It's like, it's so refreshing knowing I did what I did in the witness of others who are doing likewise, even when their lives are difficult. And we don't need to know each other's difficulties perhaps, but we are persisting. Something about persisting.
And one more thing I wanted to say, you know, we say all the time in TLC, and we live this, that our practice will never be more successful than our home life.
Right.
So the disciplines at home can never be not compared to what the results are in terms of our practice. It always goes in that direction, that our home life is successful and profitable, and then it spills over to practice.
Well, and we make sure that we are exceedingly deliberate to invite people's spouses to the conversation. The 4th cornerstone call every month is on Balance Prosperity, which is about spouses being together. Whatever your home design is, that you are together. Together you have to study profit and loss sheets, not just of the business, but profit and loss sheets at home. Together you have to manifest vacations that are articulated for your home life, but provided for by your work life, and the two worlds. And it's a lot of steps. Yeah.
Well, and what I'm pulling out of what you guys just shared is that, I mean, you came to the table individually with grit. You both had that. But now you're stacking discipline and habits and then also group flow, meaning like you're with each other, sharing your wins and successes and losses, I'm sure. And then you have your chiropractic group that ripples out. Yeah. So I love that you're, you know, and are you applying these same things in TLC with your coaching of chiropractors? Are you applying these same concepts? So you're working with, okay, your family life needs to not, or your business life can't supersede your family life.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, what it looks like? You know, you'd mentioned one of the pillars. Can you talk about the pillars that are involved with TLC coaching?
Absolutely. So we recognize that a practice, a sustainable practice, is built on the 4 principles of balanced prosperity, team-driven practice of whatever team, associate doctors, multiple CAs, promotions and marketing, getting truth out, not expecting people to come in, but our job is to get truth out, and then patient care. So we have to attend to all of those. We may have a focus at a short period of time on one of those, but we have to be feeding each of those pillars, including the other pillar being philosophy, that we have to recognize our philosophy has to be lived out, and we have to take intentional actions on a regular basis and be accountable in a community that's looking for that transparency of how are we living that out, and how are we continually enhancing the quality of each of those components in order to create this sustainable model.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your dream has always been that each chiropractor would raise up at least 5 other chiropractors in their lifetime. So there's that longevity. It's not just that we're doing it for ourselves. You know, Dr. Dean says it all the time in patient care. I don't care about you getting well. I don't care that you're here for yourself. I care that you're learning to live differently. So you're impacting the people at home and around you so they can live differently. And that's what we want to experience in all of the communities we're a part of.
I don't know if your logo has ripples in it, but you guys are just creating ripples in quantum, in the quantum. It's awesome. Sorry, Doc, I cut you off.
If you look at the logo, you see the head, heart, and hand, because that's what we work through. But what I was going to add as you were speaking, I was thinking, TLC is most profoundly known and recognized for its unmatched intensity with growing leaders. Mm-hmm. We are a leadership-driven model, and we provoke that every person's light should shine, not so that their own life is provided for, but so that the lives of those around them are elevated and provided for. That each chiropractor that can, in fact, run a practice raises 5 others who can do likewise. That each patient who can get out of pain more so go home in vitality to raise up others to do likewise without medication and allopathic propensities. But that we raise up leaders, that raise up leaders. Mm-hmm. We want every chiropractor from here forward that when they die, their practice is not dead. And the history of this profession is we've had hundreds of thousands of practices opened, and we barely have 40,000 of them present, which means they're all dead, which means there is no legacy for most of our profession's history. And our quest in TLC is transformative leadership for chiropractic, that chiropractors would be constantly provoked by us and others that, dude, your practice isn't for you. Your practice is a pedestal upon which future practices can multiply themselves. So darn it, build that thing profoundly, build yourself profoundly. And what we're seeing now, 20 years in, TLC is 20 years old. We've been serving people and coaching them for 28 years. We're in practice 35 years. And what's happening is now we're seeing the ripple out effect. We have 2nd plus generation chiropractors in houses that didn't close when their daddy died.
I was going to say, you have like grandchildren and probably great grandchildren in the chiropractic field before you have them in the physical field. So couple things when we talk about leadership, I'm always curious to break apart leadership from management, because obviously both are really important, right? Because we're managing people, but there's an obvious split. Can you talk to this? Please speak to that. I really want to hear about like how you define leadership and the other.
So we have a pet peeve about that word management. We really believe you manage products and you train and mentor people. So there's a big difference. You have to manage systems, and we see the importance of efficiency, and we definitely teach practices how to do that and how to re-engage it. We always use that phrase, you learn, you relearn, and you engage. So we're constantly in a practice of learning, relearning, and then engaging, and then growing with that. But there is management, but the management are of intangibles, and the tangible experience of people don't flourish when they're being managed. They flourish when they're being mentored and they're raised up. So we have that clarification that we really like stop. It's like an adjustment or manipulation. It's like you hear that, you're like, oh, don't use the word management, but we know that people use that, but we try to correct that, just like correcting people from using manipulation.
Yeah. there are, I believe there are periods where a person can be exposed to new systems, new strategy, new procedures, new management, and in the newness of it, the honeymoon period, they get all excited and goosebumpy, and as individuals, they seem coached or mentored to higher position, but really they never worked on themselves. They just learned a new procedure, and that's why most people dance in and out of management groups, misnaming themselves as coaching groups. And the average track life is they're done with a group within 18 months to 3 years, because the sexiness is gone. The honeymoon's over. In TLC, the average person in TLC has been here 10 years.
But we tell people in the beginning, it takes a minimum 3 years.
Just to learn procedures, but 5 years to start to integrate the system so that you're working on your soul. And ultimately it takes 7 years and onwards to really then elevate your marriage, your home life, and all. And let's face it, chiropractors are people, and most people don't want to work on their lives. They want to receive pleasure. They want to be spectators of a movie. They want to be entertained. They don't want to have to sweat. Most people. So chiropractic is humanity. So most chiropractors want to be entertained, or they want to get their management strategies or their systems. And there's some guys out there that are really good guys. They're friends of mine, and they're great systems guys. They're known as systems, and they're really management firms. But when they make reference to the idea that they're coaching people, if you get behind the black curtain, they're not really coaching.
Yeah, well, most people don't want to do what you said in the beginning, which is what we do, is dig deep. And we want to go deep with people. We'd rather go deep with fewer people than transparent and like superficial with a lot of people.
And you have to ask difficult questions. I mean, how many times I'm in the middle of people that are wrestling with divorce, and every time the stuff that has to come to the workbench is stuff that everybody saw 10 years ago, but nobody asked questions about, well, why did you make that facial gesture when this happened? And that gesture that was ignored becomes a divorce 10 years later.
Wow. I'm floored. You guys are like, Harville and the Hendricks. Do you know about them at all?
No.
With safe conversations. You guys have obviously someone in this crew over here has studied that, or at least you found your own way. So Dr. Jen, you talked about man physical, man spiritual. And I love that. And it was really, it's just powerful. It really touched me to, from my own perspective as a former CVP chiropractor, and when I practiced, I was all numbers, x-rays, lines, angles, and I forgot about my own emotions and the emotional spiritual creature being in front of me. Like, how do you blend that so that, because you obviously have done something well being in practice for 35 years and coaching.
So I love that about us, because we are very clinically driven for expertise, and we're constantly learning, like training. I just took the CBP basic certification, and I'm committed to going to the seminars every year, because I recognize there's so much new science and new research that comes out, and I don't want to do things the way we did it 30 years ago. So I appreciate that. And in the midst of that, I recognize that the most significant subluxations that occur are in people's spiritual life, and it disconnects them. It creates subluxations in how they relate to their kids, or how they relate to their finances or their fitness. So I'm constantly on that mission to help chiropractors be in love with the technical excellence and embrace that is just the little tip of what we accomplished. I love that Curtis Fedorchik work with his Hawes Foundation that says that the most significant improvement that patients report from chiropractic adjustments is not that their back feels better or the headaches go away, but they have improved quality of mental health. And when we recognize that everybody in the world is suffering from disconnects in terms of their social connectedness, and that is what we as chiropractors have blatantly untapped into. We have just narrowed our focus on the physical body. And when we recognize that there's unending benefits of the chiropractic adjustment for the entire world, if we could start to connect to the spiritual aspects of detecting subluxations and correcting them, then everybody would be seeking chiropractic care. Everybody would see the benefit of lifetime care. and the benefits of their quality of life would be astronomical. So
And
that's why.
the common objections that we hear, they melt away when you approach it from this perspective.
And you bridge, right? You know, in 6 Minutes of Science that I spent so many times, 888 episodes, you know, my mission was to bridge people and professionals together so we could compassionately engage with the world and deliver chiropractic through a platform that we see what we have in common rather than isolating ourselves or narrowing it into a box like that is very successful at accomplishing corrections of degrees of curves. And there's an A and D, you know, that's amazing. And there's more. So let's work together to reach more people.
Do you have your ampersand over there? Because I
Oh, I
saw
have them all around us. We don't have it in this room, but yes, they're all around.
and that was, so it's like yes and, not yes
Yes.
but. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting. Like, I mean, we could go on forever talking about the English language too, and like how people throw that in there. So, Dr. Dean, what's your take on that? Man physical, man spiritual.
Well, whenever a house is struggling deeply, one of the things I always know in the back of my mind, sometimes I can't say because people, you know, hear a word and they immediately shut certain things off, but I recognize that most struggles are struggles of what I would call lordship. In other words, what are they serving? Who are they serving?
Mhm.
And are they clear that they're here to serve?
The worldview.
So, you know, their worldview could be that they are their universe and their pleasure, their comfort, their bank account,
Mhm.
I have to be careful.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people
Get it?
worship their world.
Yeah.
And they've made their world the center of why they exist. And you know, if you study philosophy, there's 5 papers you have to write. I was going to say this earlier. One of the early things I do to doctors that are ambitious enough to do so is in the philosophy course at TLC, we require our doctors, well, we don't require, we ask of them to write 5 papers. And the 5 papers are to answer the 5 primary postulates or questions of defining your philosophy, right? I mean, there are factions of the profession where colleges of presidents of colleges that you would think have the academic prowess to know that philosophy exists. They'll say things like, well, we're a scientific school, not a philosophical school. Or that person over there is more scientific. He's not one of these philosophy heads. And the fact is, if you're competent at understanding human academics and intellect, you can't separate science and philosophy. And philosophy is the foundation. It's the undermining of and the underground of everything that we try to research in science, because the 5 questions are: number 1, metaphysics. You know, why do you think you're here? Where did you come from? Where do you go when you die? What's your function when you're not dead? And so those are called worldview questions. And if you don't answer them, I don't care whether you're a landscaper or you know, a spine surgeon or a chiropractor or a dentist, or, you know, your delivery of whatever you do is less. Number 1 is worldview. Number 2 is epistemology, which has to do with how you know what you are interacting with is a truth, right? There's a lot going on in the past 4 years with, well, that's your truth, this is my truth. Well, no. If something is a truth, you can't have something opposing it be called a truth, because one of them is a lie, or it's at least not a truth. So if something, now you can have opinions, you say, well, that's your opinion and this is my opinion. Yes, I prefer green and you prefer red. Okay, well, that's an opinion, but a truth can't have an opposing position faction and have these people say, well, this is our truth. So when you answer the 5 questions of defining your philosophical position, which we don't have time for today, but those 5 papers empower clarity for the clinician so that the first law of success in anything is fulfilled, which is clarity. So you say man the physical, man the spiritual. Yeah, to the degree that a human being doesn't want to define their faith and what they really hang their coat upon as the hook of clarity about, this is my position. I believe we were evolved from pond scum. I believe in the Big Bang Theory. I believe I was created. What do you believe? And then number 2, epistemology. So what is the science or the measuring stick behind which you proclaim what you believe as a fact? You know, so it's a lot of work. There's a lot of different things that you have to go through.
I look, I know we're dealing with people who are stuck mostly in the pleasure zone. Sorry, Genesis Nation. Sorry, I love everybody that we're talking to, and it's a reality, right? I could sit here and talk to you guys for 3 hours. I think we need to do some more because I want to, or I'm just going to show up.
Is that a book? Stuck in the pleasure zone? I love that.
Wait,
There you
quote
go.
it here because I'm gonna, or we may have to work on that one together.
You.
We are working on, we're at 10:30. Sorry. Well, we're at 30 minutes, but I want to just I definitely want to do this again, and I'm certainly going to come catch you guys in the field, and we will put in our show, not the show notes, but underneath this post, and ways to find you. Can you just give us just a brief runway of what it would look like to be, to work with you guys and learn from these awesome pearls?
So what we have found is that we like that there's different pathways to engage our community. And our community is the most like iconic example of people, chiropractors, CAs that come together that are continually learning, relearning, and engaging. So a lot of people come to events. They want to come to a seminar or a camp or an intensive on leadership, on financial, on delivering care plans. So a lot of people want to come to an event and they want to bring their team to an event. They don't want to be coached. They don't want accountability. That's great. We love that. We love people experiencing it and being fed and then going out and then wanting to come back. So that's one way. There's ways to experience levels of coaching and mentorship that don't have to require the intensity of scrutiny of your numbers and transparency and everything like that. You can do what we call foundations, which is a small group of people that come together that train for a period of time, maybe 12 weeks on a subject, or train on associate-driven practice and exploring those options. So we have a lot of different ways to experience. In the past, it was like you do it one way and that's it. No, now we love that you can sign up and do a digital course or purchase a tool and get exposed to the community, or just dial in and be on some of the conference calls and get a taste of it. So there's so many different ways. We have conversations that we have with chiropractors around the country that we invest and don't charge anything to explore where you're at in your practice and in your life and what's that A&D for you. So on our website, there's plenty of different options. There's plenty of different research that's, free ways to engage with our community and see what's the best fit for each person.
Yeah. The strongest thing I would urge you guys to click into if you go there is the out strategy. I'm working deeply right now with a lot of doctors, helping them write their out strategy, not so everybody quits their practice, but people are constantly looking for a way out, retiring in practice, or, retiring and being done. When am I done? I find that if I really help people write an out strategy that's functional, they get more excited to live their in strategy and they stay.
Yeah. Very. It's when you have that clear goal, it kind of takes away. It gives your brain the resources to focus in the present moment. So, you guys, you're bringing connection, depth, truth, discipline, and grit. So, and I'll work on that book title. So if you can write it forward for me, Doc, I would appreciate it. So Genesis Nation, thank you for always watching and participating. Please comment below and go see Doctors Jen and Dean DePice. Awesome that people can just tap in and tap out or fully commit, whichever direction you're pivoting to the time. So thank you both so much for your time, and we'll see you in the world.
Thank you. It was awesome.